This MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Burnau Chevrolet. Head coach Dan Anderson joining us. And Dan, after having a little bit of a setback, sometimes you go back to the basics. And last week you made the trip to New Hampton, 504 yards rushing, 12.9 yards a rush, 62 points, 9 rushing touchdowns. From an MFL MarMac football perspective, is that getting back to the basics?
I'd say so, yeah. And it wasn't just one guy, obviously. We had 8 different ball carriers. We were able to establish, the running game, what we wanted to do, and our identity. And a lot of credit goes obviously to our offensive line. Those guys are the common denominator there. Guys like Cade Humble and Braden Gordon and Will Howes, and Avery Thornton, Austin Schulte, and Hunter Christopherson, the tight end. I mean, those guys were out there on the field for most of that game, opening up big holes for our backs, and our backs ran hard and made the first guy miss and then punished the second guy. And we had a nice talk with our guys after the loss to Walk On that we weren't physical enough, and we're really disappointed in the way we started. And we obviously started really fast over at New Hampton. We had 27 points by beginning of the second quarter.
You can talk to your kids about the message after the walk-on games. How'd you get them to accept that message and let it resonate among themselves?
There's a lot of pride in our program, and that they're playing for more than just themselves. That there's the community expects more. Their school expects more. Us coaches expect more, and they should expect more out of themselves. You can't just show up on a Friday against a good team like Walk On and expect to win the game just because you show up. And so we challenged our guys, and they accepted the challenge, and they came out very physical and wanted to prove something. They wanted to prove that that last Friday against Walk On was not our Bulldog style of football, and they wanted to impose our will against New Hampton, and that's what they did.
And even on the defensive side of the ball, you had 10 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. You forced a couple of turnovers. Did that same mindset carry over to that side of the ball?
It did. And, the kids played faster, and a lot of that just comes down to the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes as coaches, we try to make things too complicated. It's high school football. Against Walk On, my game plan was probably I'll take some responsibility. We tried to make it too complicated with a bunch of guys that are first-year starters and only in week 2. And, they played a little slow and they played on their heels. And against New Hampton, we didn't do that. We played downhill. And, the guys, there wasn't the communication mix-ups that we had against Walk On. And, those guys played with more energy. You cannot play a game of football without enthusiasm. You just can't. If you play just, I told the guys, you make a big play. I mean, we're not going to stand and taunt anybody, but you be high-fiving and hooting and hollering with your teammates if you tackle a guy for a 6-yard loss. And our guys, we even said to our guys, we didn't look like we were having fun out there against Walk On. It's a fun game, man. This is the best game on planet Earth. Have fun out there. I mean, don't feel the pressure too much. Just have fun. And if you have fun and do your assignment and trust your teammates, good things are going to happen. And that happened Friday night. The guys had fun. They were out there, playing with high energy. And that was a big determining factor in the outcome.
And you mentioned the start of the game. It was a slow start against Walk On. You got off to the great start against New Hampton. How much was that important in the overall outcome to get things going in the right direction early on and just snowball it from there?
Very important, especially when you're going against a team like with New Hampton that, they hadn't won a game yet, and you can't give them any hope. You gotta go out fast and get up early on them. And everybody's got a breaking point. I remember Coach Post always saying that, every team's got their breaking point, and teams that are really successful, they have a high breaking point. Teams that are struggling don't usually have as high a breaking point. So we knew we had to get out fast. And if we did, then, we could maybe take away some of the energy that the New Hampton boys would have. And I think we did that. Although give them credit, they did establish a few things offensively against us. They gave us a few problems. They made some good adjustments in the second quarter and third quarter. They did move the ball a little bit, and then they moved the ball at the end of the game. Everybody was playing, obviously, by the third quarter. But it was great to see all our kids get a chance to play. and try to execute the game plan. And I thought for the most part, everybody played really well.
And it's not like the scoring let up when your other guys got their opportunities. It's one thing to give them the opportunities. It's also, I'd imagine, good to see them have success when they get those opportunities, correct?
Right. Yeah, it was great to see some of those sophomores in there, like Cashton Decker. I mean, it was his first opportunity to play varsity football, and he had one carry for a 53-yard touchdown. I mean, so a lot of credit, goes to the lineman in front of him, but him also running hard, and it's got great speed. So it bodes well for the future too. I mean, we see that we've got guys coming up, guys like Blake Schutte, another sophomore that was playing some linebacker and some fullback for us in there, and Braxton Halverson, who had a big fumble recovery for a 33-yard return. And we saw some young guys in there that were playing with high energy, and there wasn't really a big step down. So it's good to see for the future. We've got, some young guys that'll be ready to step in when these seniors are gone.
And you start district play this week with a home game against Applington Parkersburg. What are you expecting out of the Falcons?
Well, they've got a lot of tradition down there, and they've got an identity, and it's very similar to ours. They're a wing T team, and Aaron Thomas is their coach, the son of legendary, Ed Thomas. And, everything we've seen on film is typical Appleton Parkersburg. You're going to see sugar huddle where they break the huddle and sprint up to the line of scrimmage. And, they're set for barely a second. You have to be set for a second before you snap the ball. And sometimes they're pushing that line. They get off the ball really quick and low. And, they're running belly, they're running sweep and trap. We're familiar with all those plays because we run them too, and bootleg. And they've got a good fullback who runs extremely hard. And they've got a pretty I think the strength of Appleton Parkersburg is probably in their offensive defensive line, though. They've got some returners from last year. And, we beat them soundly last year, but it's a new year. And a lot of those guys are back from last year, those linemen especially. And they're big physical kids. They got multiple guys that are, the 220 to 240 range across the O&D line. So they're going to be bigger and more, more physical than maybe some of the teams last week's kids. So we're going to have to be ready for them because they're going to be, they're going to be hungry for a win, and it's our homecoming. So we got to make sure we don't fall into the trap of losing focus this week and worrying about. We got to worry about a football game. That's our job.
And when you're facing a team that's in many ways a mirror image to you guys, does that help in the preparation for this week, or does it create some challenges?
Well, it helps because your scout team can pick it up right away. I mean, we're running the same plays that very similar. I mean, there's a few subtle changes. I mean, maybe like alignment a little bit, or, like AP's running back and fullback and wingback all have their hand on the ground, where it's just our fullback. But otherwise, the plays and the schemes are very similar. So it helps the scout teamers out. I don't know. Defensively, we know what causes us problems. So again, we hope to be able to cause some problems for what they want to do on certain plays, make them beat us with their either third, fourth, and fifth best play, and not their first and second.
All right, Coach, hopefully you can keep it going this week and make it a happy homecoming in Bulldog Nation. Keep your kids healthy. We wish best of luck.
All right. Thanks, Darren.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL MarMac Bulldogs, brought to you by Burnau Chevrolet, Havlicek Trucking, and Meyer Auto Service.